Hey, let me ask you a question. What in the world are the Browns about to do about this whole wide receiving and pass catcher crisis that they about to fall into? Like, what's going on here? And when I say that, I mainly am talking about David Njoku, but there are other things that could go wrong for this front office in this offseason, considering that, like, we look at Jarvis Landry, right? We know he's going to be $14 million against the cap. Now, all the cap nerds are telling me that don't make any sense to keep Jarvis Landry on that team at that money. So if that's the case, and if that's how the team is looking at it, okay, you got two options. Either you get him to negotiate down on his contract. Very unlikely. You just cut his best friend. You've cut his roll down significantly over the last 2 years. Like, I don't think that's happening. I don't think he's taking less money to stay in this situation, given that a lot of circumstances have changed with that situation, right? So less money, not. So you probably gonna have to just cut him, right, to save the cap space. Okay, right? We saving cap space, all right? Now, you can make an argument that given the crisis that the Browns are about to be in, you might want to justify it. But then let's look at it down the line. Rashard Higgins, free agent. Now, he shouldn't be that hard to bring back, but who knows if he even wants to come back. Realistically, let's be honest, man, the amount of DMPs and just like weird stuff that's happened with him with every coaching staff, like he must be one of them players that coaches hate for whatever reason. I don't even know if the Browns want to bring back Rashard Higgins. So now we talking about two wide receivers, two of the more known wide receivers who we don't even know what the Browns want. Right? So that's two. This is the crisis that I'm talking about. And then David Njoku is a free agent. And David Njoku's a real puzzling case here at free agency because I've touched on this before. But David was really good this year. David didn't get the ball a lot, though, right? Like, that was weird. Does the coaching staff want to keep David? It would make sense. You go heavy tight end all the time. He's the tight end that's the best, but just not the tight end that you targeted the most. Like, why were we throwing screens to Austin Hooper when David Njoku's right there? He was healthy. He's right there, right? So I'm wondering, like, what's the plan with wide receiving and pass catching? Like, what's the plan? Like, the draft's cool, but this ain't a draft where you're just going to draft like not five. I'm being hyperbolic, but like, this is not a draft where you're going to find 3 starting wide receivers right now. And right now, the Browns have Donovan Peoples-Jones, Anthony Schwartz. Am I missing a single soul? Right? Austin Hooper. Oh, yeah, we got to talk about, my bad. Let's back it up a little bit. Austin Hooper. He can't be on the team next year, man. If we're going to cut Jarvis Landry for money and lack of production, even though Jarvis has been productive when he's gotten the ball, he just ain't been having a chance to get the ball. You can't sit here and tell me straight in the face we got to keep Austin Hooper. No, he's got to go too. But you see what I mean? We got all these contracts that we got to get rid of at wide receiver with no players to replace them. This is a crisis. The Browns are in, I'm declaring it right now, the Browns are in a pass catcher crisis. They have none. They had some, but now they have none. Last year, at the beginning of last year, they had pass catchers, right? David Njoku. I think we were still counting Austin Hooper in there at that point. With Odell Beckham, Jarvis Landry. Okay, well, Odell, you cut in the middle of the year. Austin Hooper stinks. You have David Njoku, so I'm going to not make that one him because that's going to make me. You have David Njoku, who might be gone in free agency, and Jarvis Landry, he's probably gone too. So who's catching the ball? Because even if you draft Garrett Wilson or whoever you want to draft, Treylon Burks, whatever wide receiver you love in this draft, Christian Watson, you ain't got nothing else, right? Like, you're not going to find like George Kittle in this draft. Okay, so what is the plan? What in the world is the plan? Are we going to buy wide receivers? Like, we going to spend money in free agency? We can't even keep the dudes who've been in the system on this team. Why would we try to pay somebody to be in this system that nobody wants to be in at wide receiver because of how certain personnel decisions have went down? Look, you can have an offense like the Browns and attract wide receivers. It's just how we've went about it, whether it's quarterback, player, coaching. It's not an attractive situation either way, right? Like, nobody's looking at Baker Mayfield and saying, I want to play with Baker Mayfield. Nobody's looking at Kevin Stefanski and saying, I want to play with Kevin Stefanski. That's just the truth, right? So we have nothing going for ourselves on that front, right? Defensively, it's a different story when we talk about bringing back guys like Jadeveon Clowney and all that, because we have guys on that defensive side that people want to play with, right? You know, Jadeveon wants to play with Myles Garrett at the end of the day, right? Jadeveon likes having a defensive back like Denzel Ward. We have nothing like that on the offensive side of the ball that would interest a receiver. No quarterback and no coach that would make you want to do that. Like, that's just the situation the Browns have right now, right? We are in a pass catching crisis. And this is what I asked the question. Knowing that we're in this crisis, knowing that our options are very limited, does it make sense to cut Jarvis Landry? Like, honestly, does it? Like, or does it make sense to just keep him at his cap number? Getting rid of Austin Hooper, yeah, it makes sense only if you could re-sign David Njoku. Right, that's what you need to do, is re-sign David Njoku. But in order to re-sign David Njoku, you might need to get rid of Jarvis Landry. We're in a crisis, man. Like, this is not good. The Browns situation here at pass catcher, right? We're relying on Donovan Peoples-Jones. We're relying on Anthony Schwartz. And let's be honest here, it's a real situation, a real possibility that the Cleveland Browns could be walking out in 2022 with pass catchers like just those two, right? Those two and Harrison Bryant. And no disrespect to Harrison Bryant, but damn, that's a downgrade from Odell, Jarvis, and David Njoku. You know what I mean? Like, that's crazy low. And it's not like we have a quarterback where people think he can just uplift guys, right? Like, even the Baker defenders are telling me we need to surround him with talent, which, you know, is a red flag. This is what people say about guys like Joe Flacco and Andy Dalton and, you know, dudes like that. And look, you can win with those guys, but it's really hard. And, you know, I'm just concerned about that. It really has hit me over the last few days what a crisis the Browns are in, right? Because we're not going to bring back Rashard Higgins, more than likely, right? So that's one wide receiver gone, throw him out the way. Jarvis Landry, probably not, gone, throw him out the way. Austin Hooper, casually gone, throw him out the way. Now, do they even want to bring? I'm operating under the assumption that they want to bring David Njoku back. I'm not 100% sure that while that assumption makes 100% sense to me in my head, I don't know if it makes sense to them because they didn't use David Njoku this year. You know what I mean? Like, that's why I'm concerned about even if they're going to bring back David Njoku. If they let David Njoku walk, if they let Austin Hooper, well, they cut Austin Hooper and they let Jarvis go and they let Rashard Higgins walk, who is catching the ball? Like, we really going to be throwing out Demetric Felton as a slot receiver, man. Like, that's how low we are right now at wide receiver. And we might be able to draft like 10 wide. Like, I don't know what we're going to do in the draft. I don't know what we're going to do when it comes to tight end. I don't know what the answer is. But I'm ringing the alarm bell early. The Cleveland Browns are in a pass-catching crisis, and I don't see how it gets better. Every other area of this team, I feel like, is close. Well, not every other area. Every other area that does not relate to the passing game, I feel like it's fine, right? We can go up and down the line. Defensively, let's start there. Defensive line, you bring back Clowney, you'll be all right. Draft Perrion or somebody. Even if you get Haskell in like the 3rd, 4th round, I feel fine with that. All right, cool. Defensive line, I'm fine with. Linebacker, you got JOK, you're going to be okay. You're fine there. Corner, feel more than fine, right? You got Greg Newsome and you got Denzel Ward. What's there to worry about with corner, right? You can even keep Greedy Williams. I think you still got him under contract, or at least exclusive rights this year. And then you also have AJ Green, who's been a solid backup corner, MJ Stewart, who's been a solid backup nickel. You have Troy Hill. We have nothing to worry about with defensive back unless there's like massive injuries. Safety, same thing. John Johnson, Grant Delpit. You got some young guys that you got back there. Right, you're fine there, right? Nothing to worry about on the defensive end side. On the defensive side, like there's some small parts that you want to pay attention to and do some maintenance to, but not a lot to worry about, right? Then you go on the offensive side of the ball. Now, the tenet of a good passing game is pass blocking, right? We got pretty good pass blocking, right? I think even if Conklin gets hurt this year, I think James Hudson will be ready to go this year. Be starting right tackle. And that might force a decision there for the Browns front office. Guard, we know Teller's good. We know J.C. Tretter's good. We know Joel Bitonio's really good at football. We know these things, right? And Jedrick Wills, I think he's really good too, right? Especially as a pass blocker. He's excellent as a pass blocker, so you're fine there. Run game, you're fine. Offensive line, really good at run blocking. Running backs, really good at running the football. Good combination to have right there. All right, but everything else on that offense, it's a concern. It's a concern. We've talked about quarterback to death. It's a concern. Whether you believe in the guy that's a quarterback right now is not the argument that I'm making right now, right? Like, I'm not making a Baker Mayfield, Baker Wars argument. I'm just saying, no matter who you are, you have to be concerned about the Browns quarterback room. Like, either you're lying to yourself about the concern or not, but there's a concern. We don't know what we're getting from quarterback in 2022, right? We have hopes or beliefs in what we're going to get at quarterback in both directions, but we have no idea what we're getting at quarterback. Like, you cannot tell me with a straight face it. You really like have no doubt, unless you're like a Baker diehard or something like that. If you're in reality, everybody has doubts about the Browns quarterback position. I think that's fair. Whether he proves those doubts right or proves those doubts wrong, good on him. I hope he proves them wrong, but especially if he's a quarterback for the Cleveland Browns. But there's doubts about the quarterback position. We don't know if he's going to be good. We have no idea. And then you look at tight end and you look at wide receiver, and the only dudes you got under contract right now are Austin Hooper, who you want to get off of, Jarvis Landry, who everybody on Twitter has told me we have to get off of because his number is high. And if you get rid of those guys, then all you have is Harrison Bryant under contract, Donovan Peoples-Jones, and Anthony Schwartz. There's other guys. Those are the only guys we know. That's not good enough. Like, even if you add Garrett Wilson to that, whoever your favorite wide receiving prospect is, that's still not good enough, right? When it comes to wide receiver to me is a position a lot like pass rusher. When you think enough, you need to add two, right? Like, when you think you have enough good wide receivers, you need to add two more, because enough is never enough at wide receiver. It's been proven time and time again. Remember when we thought the Browns were going to have like this excellent wide receiving core because we had Jarvis Landry. What was it? I don't know if it was Dwayne Bowe year, but it was like Jarvis Landry. Not Jarvis Landry. My bad. It was Josh Gordon and it was Terrell Pryor, right? We had those two, and we thought we had this freaky, deaky, and Corey Coleman as well. And we thought we had this crazy athletic wide receiving core. We're going to be one of the best wide receiving cores in the league. We got three guys that we could start at the one. And then we ended up having a pretty terrible wide receiving core because everybody got hurt. Right? Like, wide receivers is one of those positions where dudes get hurt all the time. And whenever you think you got two, you need to add two more. Look at the Bengals, right? They were able to keep that up because they have a ridiculous amount of good wide receivers. Like, a ridiculous amount of good wide receivers. Honestly, all three of those guys could probably be the number one wide receiver for the Browns right now, right? Even Tyler Boyd. So, wide receiver is one of those positions where you need to have it deep, right? Especially if you don't know what you're going to get out the quarterback situation. And we ain't close to deep. We not even normal. You know what I mean? Like, I don't even see how we get to deep in the draft. I don't see how we get to normal in the draft or in free agency, because, again, Browns have some stuff going against them in free agency when it comes to bringing in wide receivers. So either you overpay for a wide receiver in free agency or you overpay to keep Jarvis Landry on the team. Either way, you overpaying. So I don't know how free agency is going to solve the problem if we're cutting dudes because they're overpaid when you have to overpay to get them here. And in the draft, man, that's not going to solve the problem day one. So I don't know what the solution is, right? Like, and let me know what your solutions are in the comment section down below. But, like, it has to start with re-signing David Njoku. That's the only piece that I'm like, you got to get that right. And then, even then, right, you got David Njoku, cool. Then you got Harrison Bryant, cool. You're going to get rid of Austin Hooper to make that happen. So you got to draft another tight end. And you still got wide receiver to worry about. And again, man, like, just drafting a dude in the first round and putting him next to Donovan Peoples-Jones is not going to be enough. You need to be deeper than 2 or 3 wide receivers. You need to have 4 wide receivers that you feel really good about in order to say you have a good room. We don't have 4. We don't even know if we have 1. Like, we like Donovan Peoples-Jones, but damn, like, we don't know. You know what I mean? He was inconsistent at the end of last year, but that might have had to do with quarterback play. But yeah, it's just that's the situation. The Browns are in a pass catching crisis. I don't know, even if they bring in somebody to play quarterback, who the hell is going to be catching these balls, because they ain't got nobody on this roster at the free agency. So look, I'm saying that just because of, if you just look at the roster, that is the most dire position right now, which is pass catcher, tight end, and wide receiver. We have none right now. Nobody on the roster that it makes sense to keep at their current number. So it's going to be interesting to see what the Browns do this summer, man. But that's going to be position number one to watch. Not just wide receiver, not just tight end, both. Pass catcher. What do the Browns do to address pass catchers? Because right now, under contracts that we like, we don't really have anybody. And that's not where you want to be at all. Well, let me know what you think down in the comment section down below. Again, guys, thank you for watching. Have a great day and have a good night.